So I've been going back and forth about how to basically say what I need to say about taking a hiatus or leaving libraries. So here it is. When I started working for my last library system, I was in the midst of a really, really bad episode of postpartum, and I wanted to come home to a place where I felt safe and I was around, friends and family that would help me out, and everything. There's more details in that, but y'all don't need to be all in my business. Okay, so I took the job at my former library system, and it was great while it was great. I did feel, though, that I needed to kind of not hide the fact that I was a mom, but, I was breastfeeding, and so there was no place for me to pump or anything like that. So that was very difficult. Um, Again, the postpartum of it all, the raging hormones that come with breastfeeding and everything, that was a lot. But I sucked it up. I managed to do the job exceedingly well, and you know, eventually the postpartum went away and transitioned into like deep depression. Um, so essentially, I had a mental break, um, and that came from years of working for someone who did not, in essence, from my perspective, did not care about the staff. There were meetings that were had sometimes that were just like, well, they're going to do what I say because I'm in charge. And if they want a job, like, that's what they're going to have to do. Um, the, 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 the crux or like the tipping point for me was twofold. So I had gotten the job at my former library system. Some issue happened. I will not speak on what, but some issue happened, and I was like, got to get out. So I applied for another job at another library system because that library system was in an area that I really wanted to live in and like raise my kid and all that kind of stuff, right? That didn't happen. I thought I interviewed really well, and stuff. I didn't hear anything. I moved on. It is what it was, right? Like I made the situation I was in work for me, which is what I always do. I got a call randomly from someone who knew who knew the director at the system that I was working at that time, and basically said they told them to call me and ask for advice on how to do the job for the other library system that I applied for. And I was like, oh, you got that job? And they were like, yeah, I thought you knew. And I was like, nope. So that was one thing. Some time passed, and it came to light that I was in consideration for that other job. In fact, my director was called by the other systems director, I want to say that same day, if not the day after, and was asked about me. And the director at the system at that time that I worked for told the other director that they, quote, couldn't have me, that they needed me to stay where I was to help them better their system. So you sabotaged or attempted to sabotage my future as a librarian. Again, I didn't really know that. I figured I didn't get the job. But finding out that the person that I work for, that I'm supposed to admire in a way, or at the very least respect, intentionally sabotage my career, put me in a terrible mood. But I wasn't ready to like get out just yet. That didn't happen until so I built a program for my former library system. If you Google my name or click on any of the links and follow the LinkedIn and go to my website, you'll figure out what program it is, right? So I built that program from the ground up. Now, the funding from that program did come from the director at the system I was working for at that time. I have always maintained that. That's where the money came from. But that director had no idea what to do with that money and kept asking and asking and asking. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And I kept sending the exact same program. They relented. I built the program. Program became a huge success. It opened up a brand new market for the company whose software that we were using to promote this, or to fulfill or facilitate is the word, this program. They had no idea that that libraries were even a market. So I opened up a market for them that they otherwise would not have tapped into. Side note, I applied to that company and they rejected me. So I'm good enough for you to market off of, but not for me to work for you when I needed to work for you. Whatever. I digress. We get all this, the library gets all this like attention or whatever. I start to get a little attention. Um, so much so that the company wants me to be like the front person for some PR stuff. It essentially the the director at that system at the time was just like, no, she didn't build that program, talking about me. She didn't build that program by herself. She had help. She's not the only one. She's not the star. If she gets an interview, we all get an interview. Why are you like such a hater? It made it so difficult to want to work for that person. Um, it became even worse when, out of building that program, I was recognized as the first Black person and Black woman librarian of the year for my state. I think initially it was a celebratory thing, but the awards and the accolades kept coming, and it was less about her, or it was less about the system and more about, I don't know, some would say jealousy. I'm not going to go that far, but it is what it is. It speaks for itself. Um, and so while it was never directly said to me, there were things that were said about me that got back to me that I know about. And it made it very difficult for me to work there. I was acting out of my normal character. I was having outbursts. I, I would give my opinion as I had done before and would be chastised or reprimanded in front of my staff that reported to me in these public meetings and stuff like that. And it just was like, why are you, first, what did I do? First of all, that would cause you to have such ear towards me. I didn't do anything but my job, and I did it well. Someone who used to work at that system told me before they left, essentially was like, be invisible. Do not try to do more. Do not try to outshine the director. Like, just do the work, do what you're asked. Don't do anything extra. Like, don't. And I heard them, but I was like, I'm gonna do me. And the repercussions of that was a director who made my job a living hell. And that is my perspective. Other people who know me in real life might have a difference of opinion, but it was awful. I have never gotten out of character like that at a job, save the one time a patron tried to fight me, but I wasn't even a manager then. um, and so I had to leave. My mom was also really sick. She needed organ transplants, 2 of them. She got them. She's on the mend. And so there was a lot weighing on me at that time. And to not be able to go into a job that I loved, that I enjoyed, because of the people in charge, broke me down. And so I left. And out of that is life after libraries. What does my life look like after being at the very top of my librarian game, struggling to want to maintain a connection to that world, but also not being so close that I get into an issue like this again? That is why I left libraries.